The moment Jason Carter stepped into the long, quiet hallway of the rehabilitation center, he felt something inside him tighten. It wasn't just the sterile smell of disinfectant or the flickering fluorescent lights, it was the uneasy weight of being forced into a meeting he never asked for. All he'd wanted was to pick up his 7-year-old son, Mason, after school. But fate, and a very persistent social worker, had pulled him here instead. And he had no idea that in less than an hour, a whisper from a woman who couldn't speak would shatter everything he thought he knew about strength, hope, and love. If you believe in kindness, miracles, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us keep telling stories that matter. Jason had spent the last 2 years raising Mason alone in Austin, Texas, after losing his wife in a car accident that had nearly broken him. He worked double shifts, slept too little, smiled too rarely. Still, he pushed on, because Mason needed him to. But lately, the boy had been distant, quieter, frightened of something he refused to explain. The school counselor insisted Jason meet someone who might help him understand what Mason was going through, a woman named Hannah Whitmore, a young adult paralyzed from the waist down and nearly deaf after surviving a traumatic incident years earlier. A woman Mason had apparently been visiting in secret after school. Jason couldn't understand it. Why would his son seek comfort from a stranger instead of his own father? And why this woman, someone fighting silent battles of her own? He followed a nurse into a rooftop garden where the city skyline blurred into gray mist. There, near the railing, he saw her. Hannah sat in a sleek black wheelchair, her hands folded softly in her lap, her light purple dress fluttering in the gentle wind. Her blonde hair was tied loosely behind one shoulder, and she carried an expression that was both fragile and strong in a way he couldn't explain. She lifted her eyes toward him as he approached, calm, steady, knowing. The nurse explained that while Hannah could barely hear, she had learned to read lips perfectly. She also couldn't speak, but she communicated through gentle breaths of air, soft clicks of her tongue, and tiny whispers of wind, sounds most people ignored, but which Mason had learned to understand. Jason felt exposed, like this woman could see every hidden bruise on his heart. He sat across from her, unsure how to begin. He told her he didn't understand why he was here, why Mason visited her, why he wasn't enough for his own son. If she understood him, she gave no immediate sign. But her eyes softened, the kind of softness someone develops only after surviving unspeakable pain. Later, the social worker revealed that Mason had met Hannah by accident during a school outreach visit. While other kids ignored her, Mason noticed the way she struggled with her hands shaking on her lap and asked her if she was lonely. He became her volunteer helper after school, reading to her, drawing with her, and simply sitting near her so she never felt invisible again. Hannah, in return, taught Mason something Jason hadn't realized his son needed, a place to release fear without trying to be strong. The truth punched Jason hard. Mason wasn't avoiding him, he was protecting him. Overcome with guilt, Jason leaned forward and apologized to Hannah for assuming she was taking something from him. Her breath trembled, and for a moment, he thought she was crying. Instead, she moved her lips in the smallest whisper of motion, so faint he almost missed it. The nurse leaned in quickly, listening with practiced focus. When Hannah finished, the nurse smiled with tears in her eyes and delivered a message that shook Jason's entire world. She says your son isn't afraid of you. He's afraid for you. He thinks you're hurting inside, and he doesn't know how to fix it. Jason's chest tightened. He felt the weight of 2 years of buried grief collapse inside him. He had spent so long trying to be unbreakable that Mason had learned to carry a burden no child should ever hold. Hannah wasn't done. She whispered again, breathy and faint. The nurse waited, listening closely, then translated. She says she knows what it's like to feel trapped in a body that won't move, but you're trapped in a heart you won't let heal. And your son sees it every day. Jason had to turn away. For the first time in months, he let himself cry. Not quiet tears, but the deep, shaking kind that come when a dam finally breaks. When he looked back, Hannah watched him not with pity, but with a soft kind of joy, the joy of seeing someone finally being honest with themselves. She reached out, her fingers trembling slightly, and he hesitated only a moment before taking her hand. It was warm. Steady. Human. In the following days, Jason and Mason visited Hannah often. Mason grew brighter, freer, now that Jason opened up about his feelings instead of hiding them. Jason began volunteering at the center, 2. Fixing broken shelves, planting flowers in the rooftop garden, and sometimes simply sitting beside Hannah as she watched the sky fade into gold. Bit by bit, Jason realized something unexpected. Hannah wasn't just helping them heal, she was healing, too. Her posture improved. Her smile grew easier. She began practicing tiny sounds, trying to form soft words for the first time in years. And one evening, just as the sun melted into the horizon, she whispered a full, fragile word, a word the nurse didn't need to translate. Hope. Jason felt his breath catch. Hannah's eyes glistened. Mason squeezed her hand proudly. In that single word, she gave them something he thought he'd lost forever, a future. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps us reach more people who need stories of hope. Before you scroll. Sparkle's special request, comment "Hope lives here" if you felt the message of this story.